And we're back. Welcome, you guys. If you're new here, my name is Curtis, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 Holy Grail fragrances that I have in my collection. I don't care about season, I don't care about performance, I just care about the overall smell and how it makes me feel. Now, of course, for anyone that's in this hobby of fragrance collecting, you know that our feelings change and we go through different phases, like, oh, I'm really feeling this fragrance now, or I'm feeling these, or whatever. So, you know, our feelings change. But for right now, these are the 5 in my collection that I consider Holy Grail fragrances. So if you're interested to see, then let's go. First up on the list, from the house of Frederic Malle, we have Portrait of a Lady. So this one may not be your cup of tea, but it is an absolute masterpiece. And why this fragrance is so special to me is that it was my first introduction into rose fragrances. I think for the longest time, being from the West, America, you know, rose registered as a feminine note for me. But thankfully, I kind of opened my eyes and my nose to the note of rose. And when I smelled this, I absolutely fell in love. And that kind of started the beginning of my love for rose fragrances. But what I really love about this one is this is rose and patchouli done extremely well. It also has a very mysteriousness and almost slight, I don't know, gothic or darkness about it that is just extremely sexy and alluring at the same time. But yeah, this is such a gorgeous scent, and it leaves one of the most amazing sillage trails. Oh, if you haven't gotten your nose on this one, you need to try to get a sample or go to a fragrance store and, you know, try to get a whiff of this, because it is a masterpiece and just perfection in my humble opinion. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Portrait of a Lady by Frederic Malle. Next up, from the house of Laboratorio Olfativo, we have Vana Gloria. Just like Portrait of a Lady, this one was also perfumed by Dominique Ropion. He's one of my favorite perfumers, and he has done such an amazing job on this one. This one is very intoxicating, sexy, and it's kind of churchy, incensey, vanilla vibes. I know, like, you might think, oh, churchy incense, that's not sexy at all.
What?
But it comes off very, very sexy and extremely alluring and intoxicating here. This one gets compared to Baby Cat. Vana Gloria actually came out first, and then Baby Cat came out after that. So I guess you could almost say Baby Cat was inspired by this fragrance, possibly. But I've never smelled Baby Cat, so I can't comment on it directly, but I've just heard what others have said online. But I absolutely love this one. It is extremely sexy. Now, the only thing about this one is that on my skin, on initial spray, maybe like the first 10 minutes or so, there's kind of like a, it's very heavy. It's a very heavy dose of saffron. So it comes off, I don't want to say unpleasant, I'm kind of used to it now, but something a bit odd in the beginning stages of this fragrance, but that quickly goes away about after 5 or 10 minutes. And that's when the beauty pushes forward. This heavy vanilla vibes. It's extremely sexy, just very good. Laboratorio Olfativo, I really, really enjoy this brand. They have a lot of good fragrances on their lineup. And, you know, they sell 100 ml and 30 ml bottles. So it's just very, very convenient, especially for people who have larger collections and you're trying to save space like myself. So I typically always go with the smaller bottles, but this is a gorgeous scent and one to get your nose on if you haven't tried yet. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Vana Gloria by Laboratorio Olfativo. Next up, from the house of Masque Milano, we have Russian Tea. So this is such a realistic black tea fragrance. So basically in this one, you have black tea, some mint, some raspberry, and a little bit of leather. It's a spicy aromatic fragrance, and it is to die for. It really, really is amazing. my image is I'm just kind of sitting in a cafe, maybe sipping on a coffee, reading a book, and just kind of lounging around, enjoying that kind of cooler weather. But yeah, this is such a great one, very realistic. You don't need a whole lot of sprays with this one, as it is quite a beast on performance. But just in terms of general smell, this one is such a stunner. And I don't have another fragrance like this in my collection, so it makes it extremely unique. This one was perfumed by Julian Rasconnais. He is also a favorite perfumer of mine, and he does incredible, incredible work. A lot of his work, he's inspired by Middle Eastern perfumery. So yeah, if you haven't checked out anything from him, you definitely should. So if you haven't checked out Russian Tea from Mas Milano, you definitely should try to get your nose on it. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Russian Tea by Mas Milano. Next up, from the house of Primera Perfumes Kuwait, we have Royal Vetiver. So you guys know that I absolutely love the note of vetiver. It's one of my favorite notes in perfumery. So what could this list be if I didn't include a fragrance that had a heavy blast of vetiver in it? So obviously it's always a toss-up between Royal Vetiver and Sultan Vetiver by Nichane, but I chose to go with Royal Vetiver. Actually, I wore this fragrance this week to work, and man, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Now, the only thing with this fragrance is you really need to go easy on the trigger. I did one spray, and I heard from some of my coworkers that it was really filling up the room. I hope it wasn't an unpleasant experience for anyone, as I do know that vetiver can be quite a polarizing note, but I absolutely loved the experience. It was great. But like I said, I just did one spray. This is a room filler. It pushes out extremely heavy, so just be warned. But just the general smell of this, basically upon initial spray, you get some citruses in the top, and then when you start moving into the mid, you get some nice vetivers, Haitian vetiver, I think, that's pushing forward. And then you also get some patchouli that's in here kind of holding down the base. But this is such a lovely scent. And the fragrances from Primera Perfumes Kuwait are really, really good. This is a very underrated house, but I think it's a newer house. So hopefully they get a bit more love going forward into the future. But this is definitely a fragrance to check out if you love vetiver. They also have a few other vetiver fragrances on their lineup, so I'm very curious about those. So I'll definitely be trying those in the future. But Royal Vetiver is a secret weapon and a holy grail fragrance for me. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Royal Vetiver from Primera Perfumes Kuwait. And finally, from the house of Maison Violet, we have Un Air d'Apogée. So this one is such a sexy, stunning tobacco fragrance. So basically with this one, it kind of gives off a honey tobacco vibe, but it's really unique because this fragrance doesn't have any honey in it, or at least it's not listed in the notes, but it does have mimosa, and mimosa can kind of give off a powdery, like honeyed feel. So that's what you're getting here. So upon initial spray, you definitely get that tobacco, mimosa, honey vibe, and you also get a heavy dose of hay, which is kind of giving it a slight earthiness. But this is overall, this is a fairly dry tobacco, but the sillage is absolutely gorgeous on this one. I mean, this is moderate longevity, moderate sillage, but those whiffs that you do get are intoxicating and stunning. The perfumer on this is Nathalie Lorsan, and she's actually perfumed all of the fragrances from Maison Violet. It's definitely a house to check out if you haven't. She's done a phenomenal job on all of those fragrances, and there's definitely a few other fragrances from that house that I'm really, really looking forward to sampling in the future. And I don't really have another tobacco fragrance quite like this in my collection, so this one is extremely unique to my own collection. I love it. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Un Air d'Apogée by Maison Violet. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comment section what fragrances that you have in your collection that you consider holy grail fragrances. I'd love to hear about them. Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.